Hi everybody, this is Darren again at the Campbell Cabin, and this will be chainsaw video number 2. There was so much going on in the last one, it was just getting too long, so this is number 2. Now, I mentioned everything in the first video. We talked about cleaning it up, we talked about the best way to mix your gas, that you should use ethanol-free gas. If not, the ethanol will eat your hoses and stuff. Ethanol is not good for gasoline. It's good for gas, but it's not good for your tools. So I would recommend non-ethanol gas, and you can get that at your local station or a station usually closer to a river or a beach, anywhere that sells gasoline for boats and stuff like that. You have to ask around. Not every station has ethanol-free gas. So anyway, now I did mention we will get to sharpening the chain, and I can say that if you have a sharp chain on a saw, it makes a world of difference. And like I try to tell people that I know about chainsaws, people, friends, family, whoever has a saw, if I take just a regular homeowner saw I paid a few $100s for, and I put a very sharp edge on it and keep it sharp the way I do, I can cut right along somebody that has a professional saw that just never learned how to sharpen their chain. You can cut a lot of wood with a not so expensive saw, and you can really cut some wood if your chain is sharp. And you could go buy the best saw and spend all that money, and if you don't learn how to sharpen your chain proper, then it's really not worth having a pro saw. But if you know how to sharpen your saw perfectly, and you keep a nice sharp edge on it and follow a few rules, the golden rules of running a saw, and so you have a pro saw, you know how to sharpen your chain, and you follow all the rules, and I'm going to talk about not a whole lot of rules, just one rule in general, which most of you know about if you've been running a saw. It's very simple. So I'm going to start out with, when I started cutting my apple this year, I got a good deal on 24 cords of apple, and it was all on 8-foot, 10-foot lengths. I had 254 and my 371 XP, and put a nice fine edge on it, sharpened them proper. I cut 24 cords. Now I will say about halfway through I touched up chain, so I touched up chain on each saw once in the middle. So I went 12 cords, cut 12 more cords, and that would be great to not have to send your chains out to get them sharpened. So anyway, I'm gonna show you what we need to sharpen, what I use. I'm gonna show you what I use. The proper size file. Number one, you have to have the proper size file for your saw. How do you do that? Go to the saw store. I don't care if you don't know about what size you need exactly. Go to your saw store. I recommend getting a file at Stihl, Husqvarna dealer, or whatever saw, whatever dealer of whatever brand you bought. They will give you the right file for your chain specifically. So I use a round file, cutters, flat, a triangle file, flat file to cut the rakers off, which you don't have to do every time. So if you could zoom in here, Mr. Cameraman, I would appreciate it. Now, so this is how I file my saw. Keep a razor edge. If you can see here, this saw is pretty sharp. It doesn't look bad. It's you can see the tip of it right there. As tight as you go in, as far as you can. Right there, the cutting point, tooth, everything's good. If you can see on the top, you can see the angle of my cut on the file. And you look here on the back of that tooth, there's a line. That's what, just to kind of see the angle you want to keep on that tooth as you're filing it. And you want to have your saw up on a bench, something higher. What I do is wear gloves. And if you really get into it, I guess you could wear safety glasses. You don't want to get that metal in your eyes. But I don't know. I mean, I don't. So, you got the file. Start out on the one side. I'll start up front here. And wear gloves, because if your teeth are sharp, they will cut your fingers. And if it don't cut you, then when you're shifting it around, rolling it around, it'll cut it. So, can you see this tooth right here? Well, I'll tell you what, I'll get on the other side, because that way you can see that tooth. We'll start right here with this tooth here. Put the saw, put the file. I know a lot of you that know how to file may be criticizing. You might have a better trick that works your way, but this is how I'm going to show people to do it, that I've learned. Take and put the end of the file in there. Rule number one, sharpening a chainsaw with a file. Never drag it backwards. Stroke it forward. It takes the metal off of it. Put the same amount of strokes on each tooth, unless you have a chain that has hit the dirt or a rock. Then you might have to put a ridiculous amount of strokes on each tooth. But if you're just touching it up, you know, to keep it razor sharp, I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now look at that tooth right there. Look how sharp that baby is. As close as you can. You can see that? Now, if you can see, we'll point to the top. Up, here we go. See how sharp that is. So, I'll do a couple more this way. 2, 3, 4. Put that end in there. 5. Or you could do a 7. Same amount. And the last stroke I put on is nice and light. That way it gets a fine. You're not taking this. You don't have ridges. So, anyway, I had to take my hat off. It's getting in the way. Okay, now on one side, you do the whole way around one side, then come over. Get to the proper method. You might have to have a totally different position on each side of the saw. This side, I get close. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Grab the wrong file. This handle holds on better. And, that's a better file too. That's a smoother. So you're following the angle that's notched into the top of the tooth. You're keeping that angle. And keep rolling around there. And that's why you wear gloves, because when you roll it around there, and I know some people think this is a pain in the butt, it's not worth it. Well, let me tell you, You get used to it. You're pretty quick at it. We'll go around. After you get used to it, nice rhythm. Just never drag that saw backwards. Never drag the file backwards, sorry. Touching this baby up here a little bit. Then we'll do a little cutting here in a little while, and we'll talk about some things I do while I'm cutting. As you can see, it doesn't take that long to do it. Now, once you get all of your cutting teeth filed on one side, you get them all filed on the other side, come back here, and you got your raker teeth that rakes out the chunks, pulls your chips out. Now, this is what the difference in size of the raker teeth, the height of the raker tooth. This is your cutting tooth, this is your raker tooth right here. Now, this is a relatively new chain, and it has the raker teeth. I don't even think I've touched them with a file yet, but I will say that file them to recommended standards by the whoever produced the chain, whatever they recommend. The difference between the top of this and the top of the raker, you need to bring the raker down a little bit eventually. That way you keep throwing chips. If you don't bring the raker down, the saw will not continue to cut. So this is a gauge here that works well. Put it on here. Now zoom in here to the raker teeth right here. You can see when I hold this firmly on here, right at the very top. Now, if that raker tooth needed to be taken down, this is how they do it. From the top of this down to the top of this is the distance, and it's a gauge. Just basically coming across there, and actually there's no, it's perfectly flush with the top of this. So I'm not gonna cut the raker teeth at all, because with this gauge for this chain, it's exactly proper to still cut and take the wood out. So I hope that video, this little lesson on how to sharpen, how I sharpen my chain with the file,